Yo, what the deal? Banana Peel, we for real, we serious about ours, which is what we do. This is the T Money Podcast joint. Thank you very much for giving me my phone back, sir. I really appreciate that. My girl Ciara Ross, our co-host.
Hey, y'all.
You know what I mean? And we're here today. We're blessed with the presence of a very nice man. I met him a couple weeks ago, and he was so gracious to be on our show. My man Oben, formerly of the New York Giants, Cleveland Browns, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, San Diego Chargers, and now he is a VP at the NFL. What's up, Roman? How are you, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Good to see you.
Good seeing you, brother.
Get to meet on this side of life.
Yeah, no question, bro. No question.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Hello, ma'am.
Nice to
Did I
meet
say
you.
ma'am? You know, I'm not Southern like that, but I just
I'm here for
be
it.
proper.
I'll take
Yeah,
it.
whatever.
I love the etiquette.
But listen, I want to tell you first off the bat, you know, I'm a diehard Giant fan. I've always been. I mean, I could take it back to Pisarcik, you know, when Lawrence Taylor first became a Giant, whatever, right? So, you know, when you came on the scene, right, I was like, okay, you know, Roman's going to be good. You know, I always had high hopes for you being a great lineman, you know, and helping our team win. So I wanted to ask you a few questions because I know you're really into hip hop music. We had this long discussion, but first, talk to us a little about your career here. I know you went on to Tampa Bay and won the Super Bowl. You unfortunately you couldn't win one here. So talk to us a little bit about your New York experience. You know
How you became the vice president of operations.
Yeah, that's way down the road.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's it was a great career, honestly, and I had the I guess at first it was the misfortune because I was drafted to replace Jumbo Elliott.
Which was Jumbo was a legend here.
Yeah, and he's and he had the pedigree.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan, first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, played on the Super Bowl team in '90. And,
Right.
And I came in. I was a third round pick, so I came in the draft class with Cedric Jones, Amani Toomer. I was a third round pick, Danny Cannell.
Right.
And it was really what they call the lean years because it was post Parcells.
Right.
Reeves was the head coach.
Right.
And then Reeves got fired. Dan Reeves got fired. Rest in peace, Dan Reeves. After my rookie year, he went to Atlanta, took them to the Super Bowl in '98 with the Broncos. Then Jim Fossil came in. So 1 year Dan Reeves, 3 years of Fossil. And it was great because I was born. I'm from Cameroon. I was born in Cameroon, West Africa. Grew up in D.C. Single mom and all that stuff. And I was like, please end up back on the East Coast somewhere. And I love all my 32 teams and all that. But like, you want to be close to home if you can.
Right.
I went to Louisville. I went to school down south.
Okay. That's a good school. I've been to Louisville before. I've been to the school before.
Yeah.
Nice
So
school.
the Giants, I spent a lot more time interviewing them. them interviewing me rather during the combines, All-Star games, the visits, and all that. So I knew there was a chance I would end up there. I thought I'd get drafted sooner than the third round.
Right.
It worked out. After my rookie year, I started, and then started the rest of my career until towards the end. You got the injuries and the old man stuff.
Yeah,
you're old at 35 in pro football because that means your body's been through.
Your body has to it accelerates.
At least back then. I mean, the rules are different now for the guys, so it's a better game than we played. But and it was great.
And I don't want to skip over your story, but I don't want you to also skip over a particular injury because you made so many different headlines and history. But continue. We're just not going to skip over that. We'll touch on that.
Yeah, and that happened at the end of my career. So just early part, like being here that summer '96, staying in that Meadowlands. I think it was Meadowlands Hilton. It's still on Route 3. The '96 NBA draft was there, and I think whatever was early part of Summer Jam. So you're seeing like hip hop. Everybody was staying in that hotel.
Did it rain that year?
It did not.
No, it didn't. It didn't rain.
Everyone was in that hotel. So you seeing Iverson. I met Kobe. We went to eat at a diner at Secaucus because we had the same marketing agent.
Right.
So you go from like college kid to like all of a sudden you're meeting all these people.
Right.
And my agent had the same agent as like Deion Sanders and everybody. But coming here and just from a just a hip hop standpoint, I was a big hip hop head. And so it was funny. I was like disappointed. I thought like everyone was a hip hop head when I got here. Like every guy I would meet, we would have compelling discussions about albums and mixtapes.
No, and you find out quickly it wasn't the case. Right, it's not the case. It's definitely not the case. I mean, because everybody here is just not in tune with. I mean, the whole world is kind of in tune in some respects to the hip hop culture. Like the other day, I was watching the news and people were using hip hop terminology on news reports. So I mean, it has permeated.
They also got fired too.
Right. Oh, this is true. So it has permeated, life as a whole, But it's interesting that you mentioned that you're from Cameroon.
Cameroon, yeah.
I mean, and so how did what you like musically, your upbringing, how did Cameroon shape that?
So growing up, I mean, you grew up in a household that playing like West African music.
Because I mean, Cameroon had there's all types of
Manu Dibango
music
famous,
in Cameroon.
Cameroonian
Right,
artist, yeah.
right. It's very diverse musically there.
Yeah.
So how does that shape you? In regards to what music you like here? I mean, does that affect it, or did that affect it?
I think
at
just
all?
like the bass, the percussion, the horns, and then I started listening, and then growing up in DC, go-go was big.
The go-go was big, yeah.
And then I was the one that listened to more hip-hop than go-go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think all those influences, like watching, what was it, 18? When Mo Better Blues came out? Watching Mo Better Blues got me into jazz because I became a purist. Like, all right, let me listen to these.
Right.
Let me go back, listen to the score, then listen to these loops, let me listen to where these samples came from. So I kept digging and digging and digging. So when I started meeting artists, like so quick story, and I'll go to the foot.
No, wait.
Rookie year, me and two of my roommates, his boy that grew up with them was friends with Lauryn Hill, and so that's when the score was out.
Oh, okay.
So she came over to the crib, and
cool.
And and I saw her.
Was
I
she
got
on time?
Huh? No. Probably not. Well, I remember getting on the phone and trying to tell her how to get to our apartment. So
Right.
I said, I got to ask you one hip hop question. There's a verse on How Many Mics, I think it's the song. She's like, you can even ask Alice if you don't believe me. I get in your vision like Stevie. I was like, are you talking about the classic rock song? You can ask Alice, like Jefferson Starship?
Right.
She was like, she sat back. She was like, no one's ever asked me that question. No one even questioned when I wrote it.
Wow.
And so she said, you know what? Like, and she said, we don't realize how people front how tough they are, but we grew up listening to Duran and Steely Dan and whatever. We listened to all that stuff. We didn't just listen to hip hop, we just listened to R&B. So she appreciated me asking that question. So I'll never forget that. So.
That definitely sounds like something that Lauren might say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Exactly. But that's dope, man. And you know what's so interesting? Like you never really know when you meet someone, how culturally diverse they are unless you start speaking to them. But Cameroon must have been challenging at best, but more importantly, it helped shape you as it relates to your music, Yeah. So talk to me more about your career. So you left here, to my chagrin, and then you went
Free agency is a good thing.
Free agency is a good thing. So you left, and then you went to
the Browns.
You went to the Browns first. Yeah. Then you went to Tampa, correct?
2 years in Cleveland, 2 years and 2 years with the Browns. I mean, 2 years in Cleveland, 2 years with Tampa.
So I've always wanted to ask, like, as a professional athlete, which I always inspired to be. At some point in time, you had to tell yourself that you just weren't good enough. I was pretty good in college, but I wasn't good enough to play. Hurt my knee, so it my career as far as playing football ended. Right. My cousin is Jalen Samuels. Actually, he used to play for Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
But when you go to different teams, the cultures are different at each team. So talk to me about how different playing for Cleveland was than was playing for the Giants and Tampa Bay. I mean, you won a Super Bowl there, so how did what's the energy like as it relates to each team?
Well, playing in different markets, like you said, every market has a different identity. I mean, I go to Cleveland. I'm like in a hula hand somewhere,
right?
And 3 people walked up to me like, man, you just signed with the Browns. We're happy to have you here. Like, here in New York, if you're not, I mean, you forget 96, 97. You weren't Diddy or Mace or whoever. No one knew who you were. You weren't Bruce Willis. Like, so I come from that environment.
Right.
I'm in the middle of Cleveland at a strip mall restaurant somewhere, and people are coming up to me. So you get that football feel, not small town, but
but
that diehard football, just like Pittsburgh and Green Bay, like those kind of markets. And Browns are Jim Brown just passed this year, rest in peace.
Yeah, so rest in peace to Jim.
The Browns were great tradition, and so you felt the tradition when you got there, and you felt like what they had 60s, 70s, and into the 80s, and it was good to be, try to be a part of that rebuild. We weren't very successful football-wise, honestly. That was like Tim Couch as a quarterback, and we had a lot of, had 2 head coaches in 2 years. So, but the culture in the locker room was like, here I was just one of the guys on the team that was, leader. There I was brought there to help change the culture. So you automatically go into that leadership role when you go to a different team. And then when I got to Tampa, Brooks, Sapp, Lynch, Rondé just got inducted to Hall of Fame today.
Right.
All those guys. We had guys on the offensive side of the ball. We had a lot more stars on the team. And now I'm a little older. I'm pushing 30 at that point. Now I'm there to fill a need, a specific need at the offensive tackle position.
Right.
And then the last stretch was in San Diego. They were the San Diego Chargers back then, of course. And then and I had what was like probably the worst foot injury.
Wow.
I tore my spring ligament, which is the ACL of your foot and ankle. I tore my foot off my ankle. I got caught on one leg on a bull rush.
Hold on, wait a minute, stop.
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
You tore your what? So explain this to me because that just made me uncomfortable.
He's just jumping over so much.
Yo, but that right there is crazy.
Take your shoe off. Let me see your shoe. I don't want to say let me see your foot. Let me see your shoe. So and it's in the video, and imagine like.
And this happened.
Like,
okay, hold on. Let's watch this. I want to see what's going on here.
It's like your foot. 30th. This is a thick sole, but like your foot is here and the ankle's here, so my foot tore off my ankle, like completely bent. I can't even bend these, but imagine if these was like some flimsier shoes, but like that's what happened.
She only would have good.
You need a lot of drugs to get through that. Listen, you need a lot of drugs. So so that's what ended your football career, or that's something you had to get to rehab?
I came back. So I was on crutches, boot for like 6 months. Couldn't walk. Had to learn how to walk again. 2 surgeries.
Oh, jeez.
They put an actual. Some people are grossed out with medical stuff, but like
that's all right. Tell me. I want to hear.
Basically, a dead person's heel. I mean, part of the hip, like into my foot, and then welded it together by those like an ace wrap bandage,
right?
And those little clips that come with it,
right? The clips, right?
Imagine those, but screws in them. So I've got a plate and 6 screws in my left foot right now.
And he still went to go play after that because they tried to count you out.
Yeah, so then I came back, special teams. Like it was a great team. So that's when LaDaine Thompson was good.
No question. LT, the baby LT.
Yeah, right, LT 21 is that's
LT 21, right?
And no, it was great. It was a great experience, and that part of it, that stage of my career, like I was more of a leader on the team and mentoring the young guys, and then that was what my 12th year was 90, the 07 season, and that was it. So and people always say, when do you know when football's over? I was like, when you're on kickoff return at 35 years old, that's and you don't want to do it, and you're trying to to last another year. But I selfishly wanted to play longer so that my younger son could remember me playing.
Okay.
My older son who's a senior. He's going to be a senior at Duke. He's a good defensive end, great player.
Okay,
RJ.
great.
My younger son's a freshman. So back then they were like in 2nd grade and like pre-kindergarten when I got done.
Right.
So no, it was great. I think it's a blessing. I was telling a man outside that when I was younger, like the older guys were like, "Oh, you guys make too much money. We didn't make as much. I only made $300,000."
Yeah, I was going to get into that. Is there like some sort of bad energy as it relates to the older players and the new players' salary, and has there been any jealousy formulated as it relates to that?
I mean, I'll tell my mom, you should have had me at 29 instead of 19.
Right, you got more money.
I would have made more money. But no, I mean, I want these, and I think because I grew up in the hip hop era, like me at 35, it was different than a dude in the 90s at 35. I mean, that dude, those guys like Harry Carson, those guys listened to Temptations, and they went through more stuff than I would have ever thought about going through in the 60s and 70s. And
right.
Most guys are Southern and more, from a, that conservative situation. So me to like the Odell Beckham and those guys and those younger guys, like, I want them to succeed. I want them to get their money, like be more entrepreneurial, do more for your community. Just understand the value that people, you're standing on the shoulders of people that sacrificed a lot for you to be able to make $20, $30 million a year.
So I'm sorry. So you had a question for the man?
Yeah, of course.
Ask him had a question.
So throughout,
I don't want to keep turning to
that's all right.
you okay?
I'm trying to create the balance without ping pong.
It's okay.
Yeah. You all right. We're going to get it in there. Throughout your career, most people say, okay, what exactly are you listening to as soon as you get ready to get on the court or the field or things like that? But you do something a little differently. So I want to see if you can finish the sentence, sir. I want to make sure I get it correctly. Out of the night covers me.
That covers
black
me.
As
black
a
as a pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate or how charged for punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. So that's Invictus. I'm an alpha too, so we learned that in our pledge. But that's Invictus. I recite that before every game. And then musically, what do you want to ask? What I listen to?
No, I actually just wanted you to
the
recite
poem.
that.
Oh yeah, so I did it. I did it.
And why?
What if I would have messed it up? What would
you wouldn't have,
yeah,
because
right.
you've been
You're
saying
right.
it from the beginning.
Yeah.
So do you still say it now, every day?
I don't, but I still think about it. I still think about like being a captain. Like life is not about what happens to you; it's more how you deal with it. Because something's gonna happen to everybody, and trying to tell my kids that too. I got 2 boys, 19 and 22. That like you're gonna have a crazy roommate, you're gonna have issues, you're gonna have a coach that you saw, coach doesn't like me. All these things that happen that cause guys to quit or cause guys to drop off, and I'm always telling them that everything's a measuring stick for you to get to the next level. So,
Right.
And this generation has a lot more anxiety. That's all they do. It's
Ooh.
anxiety,
a
their
lot,
feelings.
a lot. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm not some of my boys specifically, but like just every other thing is about how they feel and how these kids want to. It's like, all right, nobody cares. Like seriously.
And then nobody's gonna care. That's why I tell my daughter. I tell her the same thing. I said, "Listen, you gotta toughen up, man."
Yeah.
You know,
No,
because-
and in a different way. And you can't say like mental toughness because if somebody doesn't have mental toughness, that means they don't feel like they're good enough. Then you have other issues. So
Right.
no, just be resilient and just get through stuff, and you'll be better because of it. Honestly.
But that's another reason why you created Roman soldiers. So why, sir? You just said it's a need. Why did you kind of put it as a halt after 10 years?
So the
For those who
camp
don't
Roman
know,
Shoulder
Roman
Showcase.
Shoulders-
The
yeah,
showcase.
let them know what it is.
I knew that my goal was to get it to do it until my younger son was a senior, and the camp still exists. I just handed it over to somebody else. And I think the parent has changed, the kid has changed from what I intended it to be, and somebody else needs to do that because at some point, like I mean, I'm 50. I don't hide my age. At some point, that next group of 35-year-old recently retired guys need to like take that over and have a different message because what I was saying in 2012 to high school kids versus what I'm saying now is 2 different things. So, and I won't deviate from how I look at things. Like so, I'll leave it there. But it was an honor to do it, and a lot of guys. I mean, guys that are playing the league that have been through my camps and stuff, and I still am actively involved in doing youth football camps and those sort of things. But for that particular program, like it took a lot out of me to do that one every year. And no, I'm glad of the work that we did. You know, you gotta leave when you're on top. Like you can't, because then at some point, things start to change. You got different people around you, and it's not the same. Sure, like you had a team,
Of course.
doing people that work shows. At some point, like something's really successful, then people start leaving and doing other stuff, and you look around, you don't have the same people.
Could they get opportunities?
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want. I mean, I lead a young staff of a good young diverse staff now, and I'm like, look, I'm not worth a damn unless all y'all become vice presidents one day.
Right.
And you're doing
or
a
become
wonderful
leaders
job.
in your own regard. You know.
So what was your transition like from actually playing to going to the office every day?
It was tough, man. I mean, I think that the toughest part about it, so I got done playing the fall, so it's fall of 08.
That's a
And
while
so now
ago.
you talk about the banking stuff, the mortgage stuff, and I didn't have crazy like issues like just losing money on real estate or anything like that, but just like you weren't prepared for anything anymore. And I think I remember this is public. I've said this in an article. Like we're going to church, and it's like July of 08. I just started crying. And my wife's like, "What the hell's like? Did you see a dead squirrel? Like, what are you on? Like, what's going on?" I was
emotional.
like, "There was nothing to prepare for." I was like, "This is the first weekend of training camp, and and there's I'm either
they
fighting
say-
to keep your job, fighting the young dude off you. You're
So
always fighting for something. There's
actually
nothing to fight.
That's actually a thing because that's what I hear all the time. They always, players that get towards the end, the season before they go, okay, I want to retire, and then the wise ones say, well, let me see how I feel when training camp is supposed to start.
Yeah, if you
because
can do that.
because if you can get through that, then it's time for you to actually retire because you'd have no desire to play. You know,
And then physically, I couldn't with the foot thing like. I couldn't compete as the way that I wanted. Like I wasn't a starter anymore my last 2
It
seasons.
took you 14 months to recover from that
Yeah,
injury.
it took a long time, man. No, it took a long time. And then, but I was, and then like little stuff like, do you really want to get room checked every day? Like, and you really want to just be home with your kids, or the music starts getting different. You want to play Jada because they're trying to play T.I. and those are great artists. But like the music arguments and like.
So
arguing with a 22-year-old about music is the toughest thing
It's
to
a
do in
hard-
the world.
it's a
Oh,
hard
my
thing.
goodness.
You just mentioned something, and I just had a revelation, I guess. The closest thing for, we'll say, the public to, I guess, have an insight of possibly what your life would be like was the BET series, The Game.
Yeah.
With, them playing basketball, football, and them being locked in their room and things like that. How, I guess, equivalent or relatable is that to the life of dealing with an athlete? Is it exactly that way?
I mean, anything that's on TV is fictionalized a little bit, but like, I think you have to keep football players like separated from, like, you walk in a hotel, you go through the back, just like artists. You go, you just get the envelope with your room key. You don't have to check. I mean, you have to do some of those things. And you're dealing with trying to keep your job, trying to win a game. Your family's hounding you for tickets. Somebody's smashing somebody's girl on the team. I mean, there's always all these other issues. And
what about like draft time? I have so many questions now that you said that. Like, what's the pressures and how do you feel about being drafted?
I thought I was going to go like probably late first or second round. And I went in the third round. And so so it's funny, draft story. My mom, she forgot to she only had basic cable. So after the second round, it went to ESPN2.
Oh, wow.
And I kept reminding her, I was like, please make sure you get that whatever the next package is on cable.
Right.
And that morning, I had told her, I said, did you get the basic? She said, no, but you'll go in a second. You'll go by before they call. I was like,
wow. So you had to sit home and wait for the phone.
and that day, it was like from noon to 8. So
Right.
after it went off the second round, it wasn't on TV anymore. So I had like an uncle, like a family friend. So I literally sat. I mean, it was for 20 minutes. It wasn't. It wasn't like I didn't get my number called.
Right.
And so he calls me. So it's like, I think the Giants just drafted you in the third round in the 66 pick overall. I said, what? And then I heard what she did have is call waiting. So at least my mom had call waiting. If it would have been busy, I would have been like, hang up. Nobody called.
Oh, wow.
This was 96, so everybody had call waiting at that point. Everybody had
Call
call
ID.
So who was the GM that drafted you?
George Young.
It was the great George Young. Rest in
drafted
peace.
me.
Rest in peace, George Young.
Yeah, George Young drafted me, and he called. He's like the admin. I think his admin called. Hello, Roman. Hey, how you doing? You just been selected by the New York Giants as third round, a third round pick. Hold on to speak to their general manager. I spoke to him for a minute. Welcome on board. We look forward to seeing you. I know are you in DC or are you in Louisville? So I'm in DC. Oh, you're right up the turnpike. All right, come up here next Saturday morning. They'll get you on. Then he gave it to Dan Reeves. Dan Reeves talked to me for like a minute. Welcome aboard. Then I went to the O-line coach.
Wow.
Hey, we got to play better than you did your senior year. You had a better junior. I mean, he went right into the football part.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
That's gangster.
Yeah, and then,
Wow.
Hold on. Now you got to do a press conference with the New York media, like on the phone. Like all that happened in like 15 minutes.
Oh,
so,
wow.
I'm in my mom's room, like, and people like, you can see the door crack. Everybody's looking in. And I'm doing like this. And
Yeah, don't interrupt me.
yeah,
I'm busy.
doing a whole press conference, and it was all about like, why did you drop to the third round? I'm like, and I remember Neil Best, Vinny DeTrine, all these guys, these New York beat writers, Paul Schwartz.
Oh, Paul Schwartz, right?
Yeah, just getting my behind about the draft. You can't say Paul, the Paul thing is. So I don't. I buy into that sometimes. So they got my behind. It's a joke. But
It's okay.
about the draft, and after about 15, 20 minutes, it was over. Then I went all the way downstairs. I'm like, you just got drafted by the Giants. Everybody's like, ah.
Oh, wow.
So everybody was happy. No, it was cool. It was. But I had people coming out of my house. My mom's cooking all day. Like, it just I almost felt bad for everybody else.
Oh wow.
So when you look at like,
why is that?
Because like I just wanted to be home and just watch TV. I just didn't want to.
You didn't want everybody to be.
Because everybody wanted to be excited for you, but then sometimes people don't know really how to be. Like,
right.
Because you're like roaming from the corner, like you're the
Right.
the African kid with like you just.
Right.
That's who I was, and so people remember you from the janitor in your elementary school. Like he was happy for you. Oh, I remember you used to come out when they stole your bike, and everybody had their story, and then all of a sudden, and I said, look, guys, like. This is the beginning. Like I got to go take somebody's job. Like,
you got to put
I'm an offensive lineman.
The
like,
work starts now.
Yeah, you don't want the attention. You want to stay focused and do your thing. So, but it was great. It was great. I mean, it's an honor to play in the NFL, whether it's 1 year or 12 years, like I played. And but it's an honor to like also as a young black man, like have a deeper sense of responsibility of community. Where you come from, like do camps, clinics, STEM, whatever you're into, like use your platform, just use it. But it's okay. And guys go out and guys hang in Vegas and all that stuff too. Yeah. And most guys are tradie folks. So I'm happy these young guys they want to grow their brand. They want to do things with their platform. So that's a good thing. That's all.
Well, so you the league, obviously since you came into the league has changed immensely. Just like hip hop has changed immensely since this time. Speak to me in regards to your perspective on the hip hop culture. Since you were playing and where it is now. Is it better for you or is it worse? Are you okay with the change? Some people said the other day. Someone said that new rappers the music itself and new rappers are just, you know, a form of growth. You know, the music is just changing. You know, some people, like a lot of old school guys, they don't necessarily particularly like it. You know,
I don't like it.
I mean, I personally don't trip. I don't listen to all of it. You know, I'm gonna be quite honest with you, but I do accept that it's a growth. As it relates to the music, you know,
the struggle created the success, which created the growth, which created like lazy people that only know this, or they only know how to communicate a certain way. Like, I always tell people I played in New York at the greatest time, like '96 to 2000. The Yankees won 3 out of 4 when I was here. Diddy was booming. I mean, and there was still. And the street still mattered. I'm a big boot camp fan. I met Mr. C, Master Ace, my rookie year.
Of course, yeah.
And so just becoming friends with those folks and knowing their stories, their struggles, and we all became friends. But like, I think musically, like it's and I have these discussions with my older son RJ. So what's up, RJ? If you ever get to see this,
okay, RJ, respect RJ.
Yeah, he's 22. He's a senior at Duke. He'll have a chance to play in NFL hopefully next year.
Okay, good.
So I tell him, I've been feeding them like MF Doom and stuff since they were kids. Like I've been feeding them like stuff like that. So I only listen to he listens to Benny the Butcher, like Sky Zoo, like that's the only stuff I listen to.
Did you just say Sky Zoo?
Yeah, like I listen to stuff like that. So like
that's what I'm talking about. Salute to Sky Zoo, man. That's my guy.
Yeah, no, he's a good dude. I've seen him perform a few times.
That's Brooklyn all day, right there.
So I can't now. I'm blank. I should have wrote some names down, but people I listen to, but. Stuff like that, like that. That's the.
Yeah, that's your playlist.
Yeah, like those are the things that I listen to.
So that's amazing. Just so you know,
Conway too, all the Grizel guys.
These guys that he's making mention to, a lot of these guys are purists. They write, you know, just like we had a conversation on one of our other interviews. Mikey D had made mention to the fact that, you know, we talked about bars, you know, and I think Jadakiss had a conversation a couple of years ago in regards to that. You know, he kicks bars, and a lot of the new artists are not familiar with that kind of, you know, creativity, right? So it's kind of, that's probably where the disconnect comes in.
Yeah, I mean, in a good way, like the battle rap thing has become a whole different thing,
right?
And that's creative, so I give them that. But if that was in the '90s, dudes would be scrapping. Somebody would have pulled the heat out. The stuff they're saying about these dudes back and forth.
Yeah,
I was like, man,
it's disgusting.
That's worse than your mama jokes.
You would have had 100 goons outside ready to rock.
Right.
The way these battle rappers are saying stuff about each other back and forth, but it's evolved. It's evolved financially. It's evolved in terms of opportunities. But like, I just wish the streets perspective still mattered.
Yes.
Like, it does.
And I think
it does. Roman, it does to a degree. I mean, you know,
in a way where
it always is going to matter. Yeah. You know, I mean, maybe it's not as prevalent as it once was, but it's always going to matter, because when you get somebody that's pure and that's you know, that reflects that's going on in the streets, they usually are embraced by the masses. You know what I mean?
Because I mean, you still have things going on that happened in the '90s. You still have discrepancies in education, and things going on. Those things are still going on. So as long as the music and the art should reflect that,
right?
Like the carrying stacks of money stuff. I mean, artists flashed in the '80s and '90s back then. I mean, what did Jay-Z said? Yeah, act like Tupac and have a nose ring too. Like
right.
all those things. Like I get that, but doing it without the appreciation of how we got there is different.
Right.
Yep.
Right. I understand that.
Yeah. So you know, and look, I always say my kids grew up watching somebody getting murdered on their phones by police every single year since Trayvon Martin. I mean, that wasn't a police situation, but like,
yeah, right.
So they've grown up with a different level of trauma. Like I can't compare 1988 trauma to like 20. I can't compare. It's just, it's like our paths are different, but like you're still going through the same stuff that I went through, and I don't want to devalue what you went through as a young person, because this isn't the 80s or 90s.
Right,
like, I don't ever.
You can't do that.
Yeah, no, you can't. Because then you'll lose them. They'll drown you out. Right, you'll become the old guy. OG talking about the 90s.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, wear your baggy
blah.
pants at and your Timbs and your champion hoodie. Get out of here. You know, that's how the young dudes are.
Right.
But.
So let me ask you a question in regards to your football life growing up. Did you wanted to play football early on in your life? I mean, who were your influences? I mean, I know you. Most of us, like as a kid growing up, I played running back, and I always liked people like, I don't know, Earl Campbell and Walter Payton and Tony Dorsett, and I had posters of them on the wall, as a kid. So did you have any football influence?
Yeah, I had so growing up in DC, I was, back then they were called the Redskins, obviously. So I was a Redskins fan. I was number 72,
72.
high school, college, and pro because of Dexter Manley.
Oh, wow.
So
that's right.
Dex was like my hero, man. I worked at RFK Stadium selling like hot pretzels, hot dogs and stuff in high school, so I can go to the games.
Oh, wow.
And so I would wait after the game. I would walk to the service entrance because I had the little badge and just stand out by the locker room and just get autographs from the Redskins players and try to get over if they're playing like the Giants and the Lawrence Taylor. I'd walk over there try to get autographs too, because you could stand where the players are coming out the buses.
Wow, how cool is that?
And so that was cool in high school doing that. And I thought I was a defensive lineman. Then I get to college, I got moved to offensive line, but I still was able to wear the same jersey number. But I think I approached playing offensive line like a defensive lineman. Because I was a leaner offensive lineman. Right. Like no one ever said, "Well, you 300?" I said, "No." They thought I was a lot smaller than I was because I have more muscle mass. But it was an honor, man. And honestly, any kid that gets to play past high school is a dream. You get to college and you get a chance to try out for a team. I know guys that tried out for a team and got cut and they still have their jersey on the wall. So it's an honor to play in the league. And it was definitely a blessing for sure.
And also, speaking of certain things that happen in the league, some guys, I should say, throughout their career go financially broke. What advice do you have for upcoming athletes that's coming in that might not have the best financial advisor?
So one thing about the financial stuff is, one, you can't mandate behavior. And I think a lot of financial guys that I saw, they would appease whatever the player wanted. Like, if it's Thursday, don't say I want to go to Vegas tomorrow or the flight's going to be $2,000. And like, because you got to get a first class flight. And so now these guys are flying private now. Yeah. Now the flight's $10,000. Oh, I got it. Like, nah, bro.
You don't have it.
$10,000 today is like $50,000 in 20 years if you save it, if you invest it or whatever. So I think, in certain cases, guys are making more money, but they're making bigger mistakes, like socially. And the other perspective is guys have more opportunities to do more with their platform. So these dudes are more entrepreneurial minded. Right. It's not just save your money. Like they want to invest in things. They want to do things in the community. They're into like technology, but there's still a lot of the same distractions. Like the perspective you have at 35 versus 25 is always different.
Yeah, of course.
So you just try to hope you can get to a certain age and have not made major mistakes that you can't recover from. Like I've made mistakes in real estate. I've made mistakes where you trusted somebody, they didn't come through. I'm like, let me just learn this myself. Because it's like being a handyman. Like, you don't keep paying this dude $150 to come to your house to fix a little screw, and you could learn how to do that yourself. Right. So some of that stuff has to be self-educated. But to your point, Ciara, like, there was a 2002 quote it was a misquote that 80% of players go broke or divorce, and it actually was never proven. It was just a quote that everyone just ran with. And so most of my former teammates are doing something, like they're high school principals, selling insurance. Most guys are successful. There's a couple of knuckleheads, but you knew who those knuckleheads were when we were
during
playing.
That time.
Yeah. So, the guys that spend more time in a gentleman's establishment than they are doing other stuff, like, they just going to go down that road and never going to grow up out of that. So I just say just use your platform for good, man, and just try to make – you can have fun, but save your money. The stuff that obviously Shaq and Kobe, LeBron and the basketball players, they have a lot more. So if you got $400 million, you can blow $10 million. You still got, but football players still don't have like that much money. So like, stop comparing yourself to what LeBron. LeBron has done a great job and he's at the top. But there's a lot, just in terms of black athletes. There's a lot more football players, just volume, that have done stuff in their community, going back to Jackson, Mississippi, trying to help with the water situation. There are a lot of guys doing that. They just aren't on TV every day. So guys are locked in though. No, guys are definitely locked in.
And what are the 3 tools that are necessary to become a successful athlete? Of course, discipline and determination, things like that, but what else? Manage
your time, and that's everything. Manage your time 24 hours a day. Like, know your body, and then just know when to say no when it comes to distractions. Like, know when to say no. Like, you don't need to go to that third party, after party, and it's 3 a.m. Right. Because nothing's going to happen except a rookie cop or somebody is going to
harass you or something going to happen.
Your lights out or your paperwork is messed up, and then just something and you might have had 3 drinks. Like, you just got to not do that. Ubers. I mean, there's all these things that people can do now to avoid some of those issues, but just manage your time, manage your sleep, know your body. Whether you can make plays or not, I mean, guys get cut. Some guys play 10 years, some guys play 1 year. So, but those 3 things I would say for sure.
Wow. And Mr. Roman, thank you so much. Where can your new fans find you? Because we know they can't find you in the camp anymore. You might do some.
No,
stuff.
I'm pretty active on social. So Twitter. I mean, I don't know what the hell Twitter's called now. So.
It's called X.
X.
It's called X now.
This guy. I mean, I'm not gonna get on that.
It's called X.
On IG, I'm R_Oben. R_Oben. I usually just post things. I'm public. I'm not private, so you can follow me.
So I want you to, being that we're a hip hop show.
Yep.
And I got you here today. Boom. I want you to answer some of the following questions, right?
All right.
So based on the following questions, would you consider the best? Tell me who you would consider to be in these categories, the best in these categories, right?
Yeah.
As a rapper, or whoever you feel.
Yeah.
Stage presence and performance. Who do you think is the best rapper out right now that has the best stage
Right
presence?
now, can I go like a stretch run, like in the last 20 years?
You could do it.
Yeah,
You
I
can
mean,
answer the
I've
question
always
any way
liked-
you want to.
If you could do your shows without, what do you call it, when they play the song and you're rapping over your own song?
Oh, is it over there? You
Yeah,
can't. You
if
gotta.
you
It
can
has
do
to be
that-
live. You can't overdub
Yeah, you gotta be
your
a
voice.
true I always love Talib performing.
Oh, Talib
To
Kweli.
see him rhyming, and then you see that vein popping on the side of his neck, and he's not. Nobody's finishing the songs for him.
Right.
Like that's a skill. And he don't dance. I mean, he just spits. So
Right.
I've always liked him on his.
Talib Kweli,
Yeah, I've always
official
liked him.
tissue, 100%. Let me see. So rap style, and flow, who would you pick as number one in regards to that?
I like storytelling. I mean, I like Jay. I mean, I like Nas. I mean, I like someone that puts you in that story and you're really in the story versus most of it didn't happen.
Like Master Ace.
Right. Yeah, like Ace. That's my brother though, so it goes beyond hip hop for Ace. But Ace is a great storyteller. He's a writer. I mean, talk about longevity. Yes, Ice
Absolutely.
Cube, and we've seen Latif and all them morph into like entertainers, like obviously Diddy and Will Smith and all them. But like Ace, in terms of that era, who stayed relevant and evolved, and the Son of Yvonne album. I don't know if you told you that story.
I think we do. I think
Yeah,
we
we
talked
talked about that,
We
man.
had a long conversation about Son of Yvonne.
Yeah, like
Yes.
I'm just in his.
We had a
crib
conversation in regards to
listening to
that.
Doom beats, like because I listen to a lot of beats, and then he ended up doing the collaborative album with him. So
Right.
I love him dearly. His wife Shay, his daughter Milan, that's my brother, that's our family. But just his longevity, like guys don't from that era aren't working as hard as he's working in a way that he's doing it.
Well, a lot of people don't. Yeah.
It's not just about Big Daddy Kane or like the guys that were the major dudes back then. Because one thing I learned about this, I respect the business. I respect honestly anybody that's making their money non-traditionally, non like office education, accounting, like working the front, like
Probably because you respect it, because that requires a hustle. That
it's a different hustle.
It's a different vibe.
Yeah.
It's different.
And it's subjective. So
Right.
it's if your producer, the label, this, that, and the third, all these things have to happen for you to be successful. So I respect artists that really grind like that.
And who do you think, as a rapper, was the best person or artist or group that changed the game of hip hop for you?
Who changed the game for me?
Right.
Dang. I would say.
I mean, it could be individual or group. It could be either one.
So
Whoever
there's
deem.
different parts of me. So like there's a part of me that loves boot camp.
Boot Camp
Like
Click?
I love those guys. I
Of
love
course.
those guys. Those are my brothers too. But then I loved early Kanye because he came through at a time where like
Early Kanye. In the
I wasn't feeling hip hop at that time when he
Okay.
like 02, 03, things had
It
changed.
was a shift.
Yeah, there was a shift, and I'm still listening to old stuff. I'm still listening to 90s stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a lot. I started listening more to MF Doom at that point, the Mad Villain album and all that stuff. And when Kanye came, like he made it cool to be a nerd. He made it cool to be soulful, like the soulful part of those first 3 albums. And you obviously think I don't have an opinion on how he leads his life or any of the other stuff, but just like that changed the game again. And that's why I always say that the top MCs are. It should be an all decades team like sports. It should be an 80s version, a 90s version, a 2000s version.
Very true.
A 2010s version.
It's so unfair to say this person is the greatest of all time.
Yeah, you can't because
You can't
like,
necessarily say that. And I've always said that. You can't do that.
yeah, I mean, even I talked to Mr. C about this. He said people think New Yorkers overdo it on Big and J all the time, and like you got to plug Drake in their discussion. You got to plug Lil Wayne in there at some point. But will Wayne and Drake ever be over them big? No, not for me. But like, you ask a 30-year-old that question, like it'll be an argument.
Right.
So all right. So
Straight
who's the
argument.
best? 90 to 99, 2000, 2010,
Right.
2010.
Because they didn't live this other part of it. They
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Exactly.
know?
Exactly. And then again, just like sports, these guys are inspired by guys who built the game. So they're inspired by the golden era. So there's no like, I'm sure Kanye was inspired by Cube and De La Soul and the Jungle Brother and like the native. He was inspired by that because he was listening to that when he was a kid.
Of course.
So that created who he became. So you can't separate that from saying he's better than them because if that didn't happen, it wouldn't be this person.
Right.
That's correct.
This is very true.
That's very correct.
So this
Similar to you becoming a sports analyst.
Yeah, I was.
This is very true. I mean, did you ever? I mean, you becoming a sports analyst and doing all these things on television. Did you? Were you
walked
happy with
away,
doing
man.
that? I mean, I know
walked
you walked
away.
away from it.
Yeah,
You
I
didn't
just-
gravitate towards it. It wasn't your vibe, or what was?
So
This stuff is hard, man.
no, I'll be honest. I'm more of a color analyst than a studio person.
Right.
Like I need to do the game. I need to do a live game.
Right.
And I did a college game last year. Just
okay,
on the
cool.
pinch. Somebody had COVID and they called me to do a game. It was like Wagner against LIU, like a small
okay,
ESPN 3 or something like that.
Right.
And so, but with the on air stuff, and I'm saying this in a public situation, like I think you're only as good as the last guy that just got done playing who's going to take your spot. So that next, ESPN dumped a bunch of people.
Oh yeah, they just
Network
fired a
guys get
bunch, yeah.
fired, and you're always on these 3-year contracts. And if they're not feeling you, or somebody younger and sexier then you're out. And then even doing Giant stuff, I saw Deal and Cruz and all those guys coming up after me, and Papa had his spot with Carl Banks, great team. Howard does the sidelines, like all those guys, and so I had a chance to be an administrator and be an executive, and I said that was a better opportunity for me for the long term of what I really wanted to do.
It's more sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because in 3 years you can easily get fired.
Yeah, and I still love talking shop and,
Right.
and having an opinion about things, but professionally, and that's why I love this podcast game, because there's a world full of consumers that need content that makes sense for them. So,
Right.
so I want this platform to be successful. This is the only podcast I've done in like 3-4 years.
That's right. This is the only one he did.
No, seriously,
You
because
heard
I
him
don't.
say it here first, baby.
Because if it's not like a leadership business thing, like I'll try to educate the other side of the world about how sports and business kind of intertwine. But like,
Right.
there's a bunch of like 100 follower dudes starting podcasts, and I'm like, look, you could ask any former player to be on your show, but like, I have a lot of respect for you. Early parts of your career, I just started following you recently and researched you as well, and this platform is very relevant and it's needed. So that's why I was honored to be be on the show.
I thank you very much for being here today, brother.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. My pleasure.
And me as a huge fan. I mean, I'm a fan. I'm not gonna front. Giants fan of the building.
Yeah, you should, yeah. I'm a fan. I'm still a fan of sport.
You've definitely gained a fan. I'm not necessarily a sports fan like that, but I am a big individual characteristic person, and your character, your moral, just everything that I've learned about you and your injury, because that's amazing, and your recovery is just remarkable. So for that,
Thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot.
you're amazing. And the mentorship, because like I said, the soldier camp, me learning all about it. I'm devastated that you're not there, because I know.
Did somebody pay you to say this? 'Cause I still get
No.
parents. I was like, come on, guys. Come on, man.
I just, like I said, I researched it and I see the passion, because I also too mentor young women. So
good,
when you're
good.
passionate about it and it's not something for the money or something somebody's telling you to do, you can see it.
Yeah.
And you have touched so many different lives.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. No, it's a blessing. It definitely is.
Okay. Thank you, brother, for being
Thank you.
here.
No, my pleasure. My
Yo,
pleasure.
this is T Money. This is the T Money podcast joint with Ciara Ross and Oben. Oben in the building. New York Giants, NFL. I mean, let's continue, keep living, keep loving, keep hip hop going. 50 years of hip hop in the building. We got this guy here. He's official. Understand what we're doing. We out of here. Peace, 2 fingers.
Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe, all that.
That's right. Love it. Love it.
T Money podcast joint with Ciara.